Welcome to class number 2 of the 2024 treatment course. We covered a lot last week, so this will be a shorter class for today. I haven't gotten any questions from anyone about last week's class, but I do appreciate the messages I've received from some of you telling me how much you've enjoyed the information. Before we begin today's lesson, let's begin with the spiritual mind treatment. Beginning and ending a Sunday service, a class I was giving, or before a board meeting is standard procedures in religious science, so let's do that now. Allow the time before me right now to fade away. There is only the now. Regardless of what went on before now, whatever I have to accomplish after class is irrelevant. What was is over. What will be will get done if it needs to. That's because there is one life, there is one spirit, and that which is spirit, I am. This class is already a done deal in the mind of God. Whatever needs to be said or shared is recorded and perfectly and naturally accepted. It is only by giving my heart and soul totally over to the material that I am allowed to speak these words of truth, joy, happiness, and fulfillment. I release this treatment into universal law, knowing that all as I desired is fulfilled in divine perfection, and so it is. Makes you think, doesn't it? Think of how different your day would be if you started and ended with a treatment. How would your workday go if your coworkers would also do that? Things that make you go, This week, I'd like to go over a few points that came to me over the past week that you will hopefully provide you some additional clarity for you. We often treat to accept a solution to a problem. Because of that, we can go into the treatment with the problem, and yet we want to come out of the treatment with a solution. So how does that work? If I'm confident in my ability to treat for a healing or an answer, that's great. And with decades of practice, it's not difficult. But it doesn't do me much good to say, there's only one life. That life is God. That life is my life now. When I immediately think, oh crap, that's all wonderful and good, but I am so far away from seeing myself as God right now that spirit wouldn't be having this issue in the first place. So what's wrong with me? I can assure you that I have my own self-doubt and internal flagellation when it comes to much stronger situation at times, particularly if I'm really pissed off, which I have been on occasions. And I know that once I get into the treatment, I'll be fine. I'll be out of hell and be peaceful and in a much more heavenly state. But getting there right that minute, not so much. For me, that's where meditation comes in. We'll talk more about denial in class number 6, but this is where I use denial before I even started treating, if you'll notice. I center myself and begin to think of all the things that spirit is. God is all there is. Spirit knows the answer. I am in the presence of the knower that knows. There is no fear in spirit. The opposite of love is not hate, it's fear. There is no fear in God, and so forth. In my meditation, I move from being the human that got myself into whatever situation I've designed, or consciously or subconsciously, and into being that divine presence that knows no fear and that has never needed to look for answers. Holmes taught that there isn't a healing, ever. He believed that instead of healing a condition, there would be something else that needed to be revealed. I move into knowing that presence has what needs to be revealed, even if I can't see it at the time. When I feel at peace with my own mind, then I begin the treatment process. The second step of unification in the matrix from last week's class is one simple sentence. That life is my life now. Yet there is much to consider when we say that. Jesus of Nazareth knew when he quoted it, or when he was quoted as saying, the Father and I are one. He believed this. But because I was raised with the concept of God being the old man in the sky that judged me, I had a particularly difficult time with this treatment concept when it came to the study of the spiritual mind treatment. It is, however, not unique to religious science or many other languages besides English. I have a Lebanese friend named Aladdin who has opened my eyes to the beauty of expression in his native language. I asked him if Arabic was any better than English about being one with the divine. Unfortunately, in this case, Arabic is about as helpful as English. Here's how I responded. There is no expression in Arabic that I can think of at this moment that would not simply imply some sort of separation between God and his creation. Muslims do believe in the oneness of God, but they haven't used expressions that would show a unity between God and the universe. Sufis, on the other hand, are more daring because they understand that oneness of God includes because it includes everyone and everything. Now, I found that intriguing. So I went on, let me go on here. It says Sufis understand that they are the seed of God on earth, that they are actually God. They know there is no separation between God, what we call God, and the universe in its entirety. There is definitely a sense of separation when someone says, I am one with God. But this separation can be removed once someone says, I am God. Unfortunately, though, most people are afraid of using such statements, and that's mainly because they are unaware of who they are. There is a story of a Sufi mystic who once said, I am the truth, or in Arabic, Ana al-Haq, and truth is one of the 99 names of God in Islam. Orthodox Muslims understood what he was saying, so he was condemned to death. Sufis believed in the concept of al-fana, which is the death of one's ego and or self, so that nothing remains but God. When the Sufi mystic said, I am the truth, he was simply saying, as a self, I don't exist, only God does. I found that explanation oddly satisfying and immensely freeing, and I hope you do too. Of course, if you're still having difficulty with a statement such as, I am God, perhaps you'd like to try an exercise I was given while in practitioner training, the 2 or 3 year training one goes through to become a licensed practitioner in religious science, a professional that treats for others. We were asked to kill God. Wow, I cannot tell you how shocked I was to think about killing off the God I was taught as a child to fear. The instructor told us that we could then move to creating a substitute God of our own. It was a way to move from a far-off God to a more approachable one that we could relate to. Being the consummate Gemini that I am, I never had a problem balancing my masculine and feminine energies. Whether you've known me for years or just found me in the last week, this probably doesn't come as a shock. I've also been a bit of an overachiever through my life, so I created 2 gods. It was the 1980s, so I chose the Marlboro Man, that butch, ultra-masculine cowboy, though I saw him without the cigarette. The other god I chose was she was sort of a prostitute. That was an amalgamation of Mae West, Dolly Parton, and actually one of the other instructors. I would find out later that she was a former Hustler centerfold. Suffice it to say that I didn't have a problem asking my new gods for just about anything. Now, if that exercise sounds odd, take this thought to the bank. Every tribe or culture that has a god has created them, and you'd best be sure that their gods look pretty much like they do, or like we humans do with celebrities, the way we hope we could be. In other words, all gods have been created by humans. The next point I want to make to address in this class is the way that I ended the treatment last week and the way that I did at the beginning of class. And so it is. Think of it more as a different way of using amen, as you may be more familiar with at the end of a prayer. It's also partly because treatment is done in the present tense and in the first person. The practitioner is always treating themselves. The belief that we are of one mind means that if in the practitioner's consciousness, it needs to be changed before the treatment is completed. We say, and so it is, because we believe the treatment is complete in the moment, not something we expect to happen in the near or distant future. Turn to the handout for class today entitled RURTR, which I like to call RURTR, just because it's fun to say. The handout gives you a mnemonic for the 5 steps of treatments, but it's more than that. I mean, if you think about it, it's a question that we must ask ourselves from time to time because it's not something we've been taught to do in mainstream religion. In the past, you may have been praying with the hope that not only would some deity hear your voice, but that he would also grant your desire. is more or less left up in the air as to whether or not he would. With each treatment, we must ask, am I ready to receive? In other words, are we willing to do whatever it takes on our end to get what we say we want? Remember, in the teachings of the science of mind, God only says yes. If we want our treatment to manifest, we have to hold up our side. Next week, we'll chat about the idea of treating in the present when we touch on whether or not to speak the name of the person for whom we are treating, how to treat effectively for others, why we are not creating the manifestation, why I don't personally participate anymore in prayer trees or worldwide prayer events, which you might find quite compelling, and how choice comes into the play in the outcome of our treatments. Sound like fun? Good. Before we go, please comment below if you're on my YouTube channel, or hit reply in the email if you received any questions or comments or concerns or treatment requests that you might have for me to do for you. Once again, when I've finished the closing treatment, the video will end. I encourage you to sit quietly for a few moments after that happens, just to experience your inner emotions. If you want a quick view of what Science of Mind can do for you in your life, watch for the social media invites. I'm at Terry Drew Keranen and my professional page, as well as on my Instagram account. And I'd love for you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Either way, please check out the other playlists. I think you'll find my 10 interviews with Helen King quite interesting. Okay, take a moment for yourself. Last week, I asked you to breathe for a few moments before we started the closing treatment, but we already established ourselves in the presence of that with our opening treatment. So just take a moment to center yourself now. I and whomever is listening to this video are united with each other and the only universal presence there is, which I call God. Through me, that all-present spirit gets to express itself through me and as me. And that is possible of God as it is possible through me. I am not one with God. I am that which God is. I speak the word of God for each of us. I covered a lot of material in a short amount of time. Whatever I need to know, that knowledge will ease itself back into my life at exactly the right time. There is no need for anyone to listen to this that needs to do anything that I suggested, or they can choose to do it all, or they can pick and choose. It gives me great comfort and delight to know that everyone around me and everyone in my circle are divinely guided to our right and perfect expression of life. For this and so much more, I give thanks and appreciation for this thing called treatment and my ability to speak this word for myself and others. I am totally at peace, and I relax into the knowingness that God is in charge and all is well, and so it is.